everyone, welcome back to Callie and Beans Books. I'm Brittany, and today I'm going to do my mid-year freak out tag. So far I've read 29 books and I'm pretty proud of that. I've participated in 2 readathons. One I put on for myself in February, which was a romance-a-thon, and then I also participated in my Owls this year. And I have a list of the 13 prompts and books to go along with them. There are some prompts that I can't narrow it down to one book, so there'll be a couple to go along with each of them, but we'll see what happens. So of course, the first one was the best book of 2020 so far, and for me, that is All the Stars and Teeth by Adalyn Grace. I gave this a 4.5 out of 5. I absolutely love this story. The only thing I didn't like was the way the ending was. I felt like there was another part that could have ended it, and then the rest of the ending could have been the beginning of the sequel. But hey, that's nitpicking at this point. We follow Amora, and she's the princess of Visidia, and her kingdom is made up of a couple of islands, and each island practices their own form of magic. And her form of magic is only performed by people of her bloodline, and that is soul magic. And she has to perform it in front of her people to show them that they can trust her with this magic. And during that demonstration, it goes horribly wrong, and she's actually imprisoned before the judgment of the people can be bestowed on her. In the middle of the night, a man dressed as an island's higher up officials comes and kind of swoops her away and is like, I have a quest basically that will help you regain your power and show your people that you deserve to be queen one day. However, when she gets on his ship, she realizes, and he actually tells her, I'm actually not part of this island's high officials. I'm a pirate, and this is what we're really going to be doing. And she's taken aback, and she's like, I'm not doing this. But slowly changes her mind and is like, okay, yes, I need to see this. Ends up having to take off the rose-colored glasses that her father has put on her, saying this is how the islands work, this is how the kingdom works. And she's slowly realizing that he kind of lied to her. And she has to kind of find herself and how she wants to be, and a lot of the traditions that she's used to kind of come crumbling down, and she has to come to terms with this. And I just loved everything about it. There are amazing side characters. The plot is really easy to follow. I felt like the magic was a little underdone, a little underwhelming, but I feel like that there's a lot of room for growth with that for the sequel and going forward. I also really enjoyed the banter between all the characters, and the reveals came at the perfect time, and it was perfectly done. So this was definitely the best book of 2020 so far for me, and I can't wait for the sequel next year. So the next one is best sequel so far in 2020, and for me, I don't even know if this counts as a sequel, but we're gonna go with it, and that is Undercover Bromance by Lyssa Kay Adams. This is the follow-up to Bromance Book Club, and I absolutely love Lyssa Kay Adams' writing style, so I could not wait to get my hands on this. We follow Brayden and Liv, who we're introduced to in Bromance Book Club, but we're not set up to actually like these characters in the first one. Brayden's kind of an egotistical ass, and Liv is the overprotective sister of Thea, and not a lot of people like Liv. She is very standoffish, she's very set in her ways. I'm not a huge fan of Liv, but reading this book, we actually get to see a little bit more of her character and why she is the way she is. And it was a little hard to get into at first just because Liv is so off-putting, but I really enjoyed the way we got to see more of these characters and see their growth and more of a friendship develop before a relationship between Brayden and Liv, and I loved it. I have a couple that haven't come out yet that I'm looking forward to, but so far, as of July 2020, this has been my favorite sequel. Speaking of sequels, a new release that I have not read yet that I cannot wait to read is Aurora Burning by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This is the follow-up to Aurora Rising, which I fell in love with last summer, so I plan on picking that up later this year. Right now, I'm jumping into a fairy tale retelling readathon for myself, so I haven't really had a chance to pick up Aurora Burning, so I'm just gonna kind of wait, maybe read that in the fall. Now, the next prompt is most anticipated release for the second half of 2020, and I have 2 because I'm awful and can't choose. First being Blood and Honey by Shelby Marin. I am so excited. And the fact that this duology has been extended to a trilogy, it makes me even more excited. I fell in love with the story when it first came out, and now I'm just dying to read the sequel. And they did push it another month. I think it was supposed to come out in August, and it's coming out in September. So it's going to be perfect for fall. And like I said, I'm just so excited. The second book being Crazy Stupid Bromance by Lyssa Kay Adams. I've fallen in love with her writing style and will automatically buy any book that she writes. Going into the biggest disappointments of 2020 so far, I actually have two books. Again, this is one that I couldn't narrow down to just one. The first being Don't Read the Comments by Eric Smith, and I've beat this book up quite a bit. I read this in April, part of my Owls, and I talked a little bit about why I didn't like it then. I also talked about it in my recent contemporary and adult romance video, so I'm not really going to dive too much into why I disliked this book. I felt like I've talked about it enough, but overall I just could not connect with the characters. It was very cringy for me. There was a lot of moments where I found myself rolling my eyes and just being like, this is kind of dumb. I was just disappointed in the way I hyped it up for myself, because reading the synopsis I was like, oh, this is going to be really interesting, this is going to be awesome, and it just fell short for me. Now the second book that I was disappointed with is one that got a lot of hype and one that I thought was going to be amazing, just because everyone that I heard talking about it was like, oh, this is one of the best books ever, and it wasn't for me, and that is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. We read this as our Serpent and Badger book club book of February, and Callie and Bean loved it. They really enjoyed the story, and I enjoyed bits and pieces, but I felt myself not being able to get into the story as much as everyone else has, and maybe it was just because I was reading so many adult romances that this one just fell short, but I was just disappointed in the letdown of the hype, I suppose. Maybe I was just being too nitpicky with the story. I was just overall just disappointed in this book. For my biggest surprise of 2020 so far, that goes to Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. This is the follow-up to Strange the Dreamer, and I was really nervous going into this because I was really mad at the end of Strange the Dreamer and had to put a couple months in between reading Strange the Dreamer and picking up Muse of Nightmares just because of how angry I was. But I was pleasantly surprised. I love the sequel. It was amazing. It was so well done, and the rich culture and rich writing style from Strange the Dreamer followed into Muse of Nightmares. The way we get our reveals and our answers from Strange the Dreamer was perfect. Everything fell into place the way it should be. The only issue I have is the way the ending was. It kind of sets it up for more stories. It sets it up that we're going to get more, and last time I checked, we haven't had any sort of news that we're going to get more from this world, which is very disappointing. But overall, I was just pleasantly surprised with the character development, the continuous world building, and just all the reveals and answers that we get from Muse of Nightmares. It was amazing. It was perfect. And overall, I gave this a 4 out of 5. The next prompt is favorite new author, whether this is a debut or a new to you author. And for me, this shouldn't be a shocker. It is Lyssa Kay Adams. I absolutely love her writing style. I'm really excited that I was introduced to her stories this year and can't wait to continue reading anything that she puts out. Her writing style is amazing. It flows so nicely. Her characters are so well done. Sometimes she sets you up not to like them, which I think is perfect. And just the romances that she's able to write made me very happy. So overall, I love everything about Lyssa Kay Adams and can't wait to continue reading her stories. The next prompt is newest favorite character, and it's a tie. I can't decide between these two characters. They're strong female leads, and they are put in some pretty crappy situations, and they make the best of it, and their character growth is phenomenal, and I just can't decide on which one. Of course, I'm talking about Amora from All the Stars and Teeth. She was definitely one of my favorite characters I've read so far in 2020. Just her story was amazing. Her narration was amazing. The way she overcomes some things and realizes that there are flaws in her life that she needs to change, and recognizes that everything her father has taught her isn't perfect. And that is one thing that I really enjoy, is when characters take off those rose-colored glasses and say and admit my life isn't what I thought it was, and growing from that. Sometimes we get stuck with these characters that are like, no, I'm gonna be stubborn and this is how it is and this is what I like and all of that, and I'm very happy that that's not how Amora was in All the Stars and Teeth. And I'm kind of late to this party, but the next favorite character that I have that I fell in love with was Feyre from A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. Callie has been trying to get me to read these stories for a year now, and I finally picked it up and I am so in love with this story. It was a little hard to get into at first, and we do get that icy vibe from Farah, and you're like, do I want to like this character? But as she grows and as she realizes that things can be fine, things can get better, you just fall in love with her. And it's amazing. And yeah, she's definitely one of my favorite characters of 2020 so far. And I'm so excited to continue reading her journey. And the next prompt is newest fictional crush. And I don't really get crushes on characters, but at first gut reaction, that goes to Tamlin. He is so stubborn as well, but the way he treats Farah and the way he tries to do everything in his power to make her comfortable, even though he knows that she hates being there and hates him, he just tries to make her feel welcome. Again, I'm late to the party, and I know that most of you already know that this story is amazing, or you fall in the camp of, what are you talking about? This book is not great. I fall into the camp of, this is one of the best stories ever. Now, the next prompt is a book that made me cry, and I can't remember if I did or didn't cry during Strange the Dreamer. I think I did, just because of how emotional the story is at the end. But this is the first book that I thought of. It's either Strange the Dreamer or Muse of Nightmares. I honestly can't remember which one. I know I was very emotional during these two stories just because of how rich the story is in general and how amazing the relationships are. I'm pretty sure I cried during these, but I don't remember. On the flip side of that, a book that made me happy was Good Luck Charm by Helena Hunting. Now this follows Layla and Ethan after 8 years of not speaking, and they run into each other because Ethan's father's in the hospital, and Layla's been very close with Ethan's family since she was in high school. So it's one emotional reunion between the two characters because of his father and then also because of their relationship and their past. We follow them picking up kind of where they left off and trying to rebuild something that was there 8 years ago that was kind of shattered. And this is a sports romance. Ethan is a hockey player in the National Hockey League, and I got a kick out of the team names and the lack thereof. She just kind of plays around with the teams and the locations, and I was like, okay, fine. It just made me happy just because I absolutely loved the writing style of Helena Hunting and can't wait to read more of her stories. So the next prompt is the most beautiful book you've bought so far in 2020, and there's a lot of beautiful covers out there that I haven't had a chance to get my hands on, but for me, in my opinion, the most beautiful cover I have on my shelves that I purchased in 2020, Night Country by Melissa Elbert. This is a follow-up to The Hazelwood. I really love this cover, and I feel like it's very beautiful to me. So the last prompt is a book that you're looking forward to reading by the end of the year. For me, I've kind of taken this in a couple of different ways. That's why I couldn't narrow it down to just one book. Of course, I have the new release, Blood and Honey by Shelby Marin, coming out in September. That is definitely one that I'm highly anticipating and definitely want to read by the end of the year. I also have Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. This is one that Callie has been trying to get me to read for a year and fits in with my fairy tale retelling readathon. I'm looking forward to finishing this book. I don't know if I'm going to be able to read the entire series by the end of the year just because there are a lot of books, there are long stories, and I just feel like I might not get to all of them, but I know I definitely want to finish at least the beginning of the series, Throne of Glass. And of course, one goal that I want to complete by the end of the year is reading Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. I've been wanting to read these since I actually watched the movies with John for the first time, I think 6.5 years ago. So I've been wanting to read the stories that started it all, and this is going to be the year that I do it. I don't know when, but I want to. That is one goal that I put for myself. At the end of 2019, I said I was going to read Lord of the Rings by the end of 2020. We're halfway there, and I haven't picked them up, but Callie and Sarah have been amazing, and they actually got me the trilogy for our quarantine exchange. So now I have copies of the books, and I definitely have it in me to read them by the end of the year. So stay tuned, because I hope I get there. That's it for my mid-year freak out tag. I actually really enjoyed looking back on the books that I've read this year so far. So until next time, guys, make sure to subscribe to our channel. We post new videos every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, and you can check out our Goodreads and Instagram accounts linked below. Bye!